Hi, Roy here, and welcome to another edition of The Right Has Left. The Republican Party losing its basic roots and foundation as for what they stand for. And that's what this broadcast is all about. I was a Republican for some odd 50 years, and I have left the party and have become a Democrat, all because of Donald Trump. So we've got a lot to talk about this week in reference to what's been going on in our nation's capital. So let's go ahead and get started. Some of the things that's been going on, of course, is the approval of the budget bill to keep the government operating so they got cash to work with. There has been, oh my goodness gracious, a lot of stuff going on with back and forth playing game of who did what and why did they do it. And, I can appreciate it. So what is going on? Well, according to some, these Democrats just sold out their Senate colleagues, and every Democrat in the United States House that opposed the GOP's spending bill, which they all did, and when it went to the Senate, these folks that you see here, that according to other Democrats, sold out because they voted in favor of the spending bill. And one outspoken person who is really pissed off is this young lady, AOC. And, in some ways, I can't blame her. This was a leverage tool that they wanted to have to make Trump sweat a little bit, and it backfired because those 10 Democrats crossed the line and supported the bill. And AOC is not very happy. Now, here's a cool thing, and I have to agree with AOC. I'm not happy either. It was a great bargaining chip, and these folks said, well, it's very important. It's worse if the government would have shut down. Well, would have it been? I don't know. AOC, I can tell you right now, has got her eye on the Senate. In a couple of years, the seat's going to open up, and I can tell you right now, this young lady is going to run for the seat for that Senate seat, and I'm going to tell you right now, she's probably going to win because she's a firecracker, and she don't take crap off of anybody, and that's really a good thing, in my opinion. All right, let's move on because I got so much to talk about. Another thing that's going on is this thing with the Canadian citizens. Now, you probably already know this, but a lot of Canadians come down here in the winter to, and I mean, when I say a lot, I mean a lot. They come down here and spend a lot of money, a lot of time, and there is a bunch of them. Now, according to Ron DeSantis, he doesn't think that this new item that's going on to where Canadians who stay here longer than 30 days have got to fill out a form so they can report to Homeland Security. So Homeland Security and Trump can keep an eye on the Canadians. Yes, this is what I'm saying. They think that Canadians are possibly could be terrorists, so they need to keep an eye on them. And this is absolutely ridiculous, but this is just part of the feud going on now between Canada, which Trump wants to make our 51st state. Now, Ron DeSantis, of course, he's saying, well, I'm not too worried about it. I don't think it's going to hurt tourism in Florida. I'm still seeing a lot of Canadian license plates, and I'm shrugging off that this is going to happen. You know why I've seen a lot of Canadian license plates? Because the Canadians are leaving early from Florida to get back over across the border before the April 1st deadlines because they don't want to fill out all the reports. And I can tell you right now, a lot of these Canadians will not be back next winter. I don't care what he says. They're getting upset. It's becoming ridiculous. And of course, Ron DeSantis, because Trump lives in Florida, he is just kissing his hind end, so he doesn't have to deal with it. Now, here are some facts, folks. 3.3 million Canadians come down to Florida every winter to spend time here. That is 2% of Florida's total visitors. And Donald Trump, even though he's a Florida resident himself and sees all this, doesn't give a rat. He is doing all he can to break the will of the people of Canada and the economy so he can absorb the entire northern part, all of Canada, and make it a 51st state. And that's all he cares about. He doesn't give a rat about how he's hurting anybody else as long as he can do what he can do. And you wonder why these incidences are just making the relationship between Canada and the United States even worse. And I can't believe this stuff, but I can tell you right now, many of these Canadians are not going to be back down here next winter. They're not going to put up with it. They'll go maybe to California or somewhere else that's a little bit warmer, or maybe not come down at all. They'll just stick it out and then enjoy the winter up there in Canada. They're not going to put up with it. It's as sad as it is. That's just what's going to happen. Now, what else is going on in the news? Well, this is sad, but here's what else is going on. Columbia University. Columbia University has lost $400 million from the federal government in funding because of peaceful First Amendment right protests from those who are supporting Palestine. And again, this is just more sad stuff. A pro-Palestinian college student was charged following last year's protest in New York City, and he self-deported himself back to Canada. And federal officials said that as they shared surveillance video of a woman rushing to catch a flight at LaGuardia Airport, the student's hurried departure comes, and you don't blame her, as federal officials considered whether to bring, get this, terrorism charges against people who protest and support Palestine. And they did a very peaceful sit-in, and of course they're upset because Columbia University didn't do anything about it. And why should they? It's their First Amendment rights to protest. At least last I checked in the United States, but Trump's, trying to change that all around too, that it's against the law. So he said when you advocate for violence and terrorism, that privilege should be taken away from you, and it should be revoked. You should go to jail because you have no right to protest and support Palestine. Now, again, this is something that I have to talk about a little bit. People who are in support of Palestine are in support of the Palestinian people who live there. They're not in support of Hamas. Hello? Do you have any critical thinking skills? They are in support of the poor people that live there who are being maimed, bombed, shot at, their homes blowing up, hospitals lost, their loved ones being killed, babies being killed. This is what they're supporting are the people of Palestine. They're not supporting Hamas, but people don't think about that because they're too stupid. Just because you live in Palestine doesn't mean that you support terrorism, you support Hamas. It's just like the folks here in the United States, millions of people really don't support President Trump, but this is a country that we love, and we have our First Amendment rights to speak our mind. Just like when Joe Biden was in office, Republicans were speaking their mind. They have disagreements, but they weren't shelling, bombing, and blowing up other innocent people who were doing things like that. So this is what this is all about: is peaceful protesting of the people. Not Hamas, the people of Palestine is a given First Amendment right. And this is where we get so narrow-minded is when you're not a terrorist sympathizer, when you're protesting the destruction of your country because of what's going on there. It's not Hamas. Well, anyway, as I mentioned earlier, Trump canceled $400 million in funding for Columbia University because of the fact of the matter that they were letting those people protest. Oh, gee, we're sorry that they can't have First Amendment rights. So, I don't know. So, here's something I want to break down right now. Jesus Christ was a Palestinian. Do people who go out and say Jesus was a Palestinian, are they terrorists? Are they going to get arrested because they may out and say Jesus was from Palestine? Does that make him a terrorist? And do we soon forget, for those of you Christians who read the Bible, as I do, that Christ called the Holy Land Palestine? That's in Zechariah chapter 2, verse 12. That is correct. It was the land of Jehovah. That's in Hosea chapter 9, verse 3. So it's also in Psalms 85:1. He called Palestine the land of Jehovah, the land of promise. That's right. It's a land of promise. In Hebrews 11:9, Palestine is a land of promise because it was promised to Abraham. In Genesis chapter 12, verse 7, and in chapter 24, verse 7, it was called the land of Canaan, which was Palestine. And it was called the land of Judah in Isaiah chapter 19, verse 17. So and this is Christ in the New Testament talking about Palestine. So we got to ask ourselves, what is going on here? People mix up so much politics because of things. It's just like going back to Nazi Germany. I mean, Hitler was a terrible person, but there was actually people who lived in Germany that did not support Adolf Hitler. It's just like in Palestine now, there are people who don't support Hamas, but they happen to be Palestinian citizens. So does that make them all bad? Quit putting all the apples in the same basket. I mean, I don't mean no harm, but this is what is just so freaking sad is what's going on. Is everybody's bad just because you support Palestine. Also going on in the news, a family that was also deported to Mexico. They were hoping they could find a way to return to the United States and ensure that their 10-year-old daughter, who is, get this, a U.S. citizen, can continue her brain cancer treatment. But immigration authorities removed the girl, a U.S. citizen, and her 4 American siblings from a Texas home on February 4th when they deported their undocumented parents. Now, the kids are U.S. citizens, but the parents were undocumented. So the whole family went, and the family's ordeal began clear last month with this. This child has a brain tumor, and she was supposed to go back to the hospital because it was starting to swell. So what do we wonderful U.S. citizens, who we say bring your loving in your home on Statue of Liberty to our country, they deported everybody. And again, Trump wants to end birthright citizenship, and he's taking that to the Supreme Court. He doesn't care. Get the hell out of the country. That's what he's saying. So this poor girl needed emergency medical treatment, 10 years old. She was recovering from brain cancer, and they deported her back to Mexico. And what's going to happen there, God only knows. 10 years old, ladies and gentlemen, recovering from her brain cancer tumor. And she needed to get back to the doctor. And because her parents are undocumented, they shipped the whole family back to Mexico. I don't know. I just don't know about all this. What are we coming to here? And they made the trip at least 5 times before and never had an incident. But this time, because of the step up with ICE, and the parents were undocumented, they shipped them all back because Trump is stepping up the deportation. He doesn't care what your situation is. Get out if you don't have papers. I'm just flat out disgusted about all this. I just don't know what to say or do when it comes to a 10-year-old. I mean, and a child that needs help, and this is how our country is going to be. That's just too sucking bad. I mean, oh boy, this really breaks my heart when you're dealing with children. Adults, okay, maybe, but a child that needs quick help. This is what we're going to do with them. I don't know. Okay, so what else is going on in the news? Well, let's talk about Social Security. Social Security and Medicaid, that is given to us, but Elon Musk, he thinks that Social Security and Medicaid is an entitlement program. Listen to this recent interview he just gave.
The way it's important in entitlement spending, which is which is most of the federal spending is entitlements. That's like the big one to eliminate. That's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $600-700 billion a year. that is also a mechanism by which the Democrats attract and retain illegal immigrants by essentially paying them to come here and then turning them into voters.
Yes.
So this is why the Democrats are so upset about the situation, because they're losing. If we turn off this gigantic money magnet for illegal immigrants, then they will leave, and they'll lose voters.
There you go. He thinks Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security is all entitlement programs. And of course, let me tell you this. Social Security is not an entitlement program. And I'm going to give you an example. I started working at the age of 14, and I was putting my money into Social Security, which the government uses, and then you're supposed to get it all back when you retire. So all the money that you've been putting in when you're working, the government's actually using that, so they can go about their business, and they use it for whatever programs they want, and that's all fine and dandy. So when people like myself retire, we get our Social Security. We start tapping into it because we've been paying into it all this time. Elon Musk, it is not entitlement. That is my money and other people's money. So where you get off in calling Social Security an entitlement program, that is our money that we have been funding so the government can run. I don't know where you're getting all of that. Where is that entitlement? I am sorry, but you're dead wrong. And this thing about, immigrants, immigration and immigrants being allowed to stay in the United States so they can vote for the Democrats, I don't know where you're getting that either. If you look at the latest voting record for Donald Trump, a lot of Latinos who are from, those countries down south voted for Donald Trump. So was that rigged? That Latinos and Hispanics that supported Donald Trump, say in states like here in Florida and New Mexico and Texas, are they all illegal immigrants that voted for Donald Trump, or is that different? Yeah. Yeah, we need to stop and think about, again, you got Elon Musk, who doesn't know jack about Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. This guy who is from South America. He's got so much money he doesn't know what to do with, but he wants to call that money in an entitlement program. I don't think so. Now, another thing's going on. MSNBC and CNN. Donald Trump thinks that these networks are now illegal because they don't support him. Watch this clip.
I believe that CNN and MSDNC, who literally write 97.6% bad about me, are political arms of the Democrat Party. And in my opinion, they're really corrupt and they're illegal. These networks and these newspapers are really no different than a highly paid political operative. And it has to stop. It has to be illegal. It's influencing judges, and it's really changing law, and it just cannot be legal.
It's too bad that Donald Trump does not know how to pronounce MSNBC, but, that's okay. He says they're illegal because they don't say positive things about them. So much for freedom of the press and our First Amendment rights to talk what we want to talk about. If you're not saying positive things about Donald Trump 24/7, then you're an illegal network. So I guess my podcast is illegal because I don't say positive things about Donald Trump all the time. Again, I don't know where he's getting off on this. His favorite network, of course, is Fox, because they typically say positive things about him all the time. And he didn't say anything about CBS, so I guess they're okay. Of course, CBS has paid some money into, Donald Trump, I guess, to get some FCC stuff off their back. But so they're okay. So I suppose if CNN, and they've already paid some money anyway, and MSNBC would pay some money, maybe he would like those two networks. But right now, they're on his crap list because they don't say good things about him. So I don't know where we're going to go with that either. All right, let's keep moving on. I found that really interesting. Here is one of my last little tidbits, and this is really sad. And when I say sad, I mean really, really sad. Check this out. Yes, Arlington National Cemetery, a place where we honor our fighting brave men and women, soldiers. Well, guess what? Arlington National Cemetery took off their website some demographics and some places where you can find some of the buried soldiers who happen to be Hispanic, Black, and female. You can no longer search for them. Arlington National Cemetery is overseen by our silent soldiers in immaculate uniforms. You've seen them with rammed straight discipline, and they march back and forth to Tomb Unknown Soldier at Arlington. And there's hundreds of acres in Virginia of Arlington. They watch over 400,000 graves of United States service members dating back to the Civil War, including 2 presidents and more than 400 Medal of Honor recipients. But just recently, they took down the website. It was scrubbed. Dozens and dozens of pages on grave sites and education materials, as I just mentioned, that included histories of prominent Black, Hispanic, and female service members who are buried in the cemetery, along with educational material on dozens of Medal of Honor recipients. And there were also maps so you could find their graves of these prominent people. And we're talking about Marine Corps veterans, Air Force, Army, and other services. Now, cemetery officials, they did confirm to various media outlets that they, in fact, did unpublish, quote unquote, those documents to meet recent orders by our wonderful President Donald Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth of Fox News, targeting race and gender-related language and policies in the military. So you can no longer find any of those links to the list of those dozens and dozens of notable graves at Arlington of women, of Black and Hispanic service members who are buried there. You can find the whites. You can find the white people, but you can't find them. And about a dozen other, notable graves lists also remain highlighted on the website, including a list of politicians and athletes and even foreign nationals, white privileged people. They're there, but anybody else, they are long gone. And so there you go. I don't know what to say. So this is just getting really, really out of hand, ladies and gentlemen. And that's my episode of The Right Has Left. Very discouraging news this week, and I know it's just going to get worse. And this week has been absolutely horrendous, and it's been sad, especially for that 10-year-old girl and our veterans. And you can see why when all of these Republican senators and congressmen go back, and they're going to be stopping their little city get-togethers and roundtables, because everybody's yelling at them, and they don't want to get yelled at. They thought people will just love this stuff, and they don't. People who have voted for these Republicans and for Trump, they're getting upset. And it's just going to get worse. And as Trump keeps saying, well, it's going to get better. No, it's not. And our economy is starting to tank. The stocks are starting to tank. Oh, poor Elon Musk, he's losing money with Tesla, or Tesla as Trump calls it. And of course, he's got so much money, that's just a dent for him. And of course, these 10 Democrats who went out and supported the bill to keep the government running. I don't know about that either. But anyway, you folks absorb it. I do respect all your opinions, and I know I'm just making a commentary, but it's just getting bad, isn't it? It really is. And if you can absorb all this, I guess we'll have to all write it out through too. Hi, I'm Roy with the Right Has Left podcast. Until next time, you try to have a good week.